Hey guys, it's Hans Hobbies, and today I just have kind of just like a video where I'm just gonna ramble on with the camera. Um, it's just kind of like a general update video of things I've been working on and just my RC collection and stuff like that. Um, and a big update is something you can't really see on screen is I have an actual tripod now, so hopefully that'll make shooting videos a little bit easier, a little more stable, and I'll make increase the production value of my um, videos a little bit. I know a couple of my recent videos I wasn't too happy about because my hands are pretty shaky, and this is a crappy little stand that I've been using to film all my videos, like placing it on boxes and stuff. So this is a little bit more clean and a lot more stable and holds the phone in a lot better and stuff. So yeah, hopefully that helps my videos out somewhat. But yeah, the first car I'm gonna talk about here is obviously the one you see on screen. It's the Traxxas 1/16 scale Summit. Now I got this truck about a week ago, and this truck was kind of like a big point of shame for me because this truck meant I was breaking my Traxxas boycott that I've been on. Now, if you don't know why I've been boycotting Traxxas and why a lot of hobbyists have been boycotting Traxxas, just Google Traxxas boycott real quick and there'll be a lot of other hobbyists and blogs and stuff that'll really tell you the in-depth drama of what's going on. The TLDR basically though is Traxxas as a company are kind of being bullies in the industry as they've been like kind of being patent trolls where they'll like buy up a bunch of patents and then just sue everyone that has anything remotely close to their patent, whether it's actually serious or not, whether it was an actual infringement or not. They'll just find any reason to just sue people. So and they've been kind of bullying, and it's just like hobby stores have been kind of being pressured by them, and a lot of drama going on with them. So I'm not a fan of Traxxas as a company, but I am a fan of Traxxas as a Traxxas vehicles as a product. Um, and I would normally still keep up my boycott. Like the new Haas came out, the new Rustler 4x4 came out. The TRX4 is also a really cool truck. I'm interested in all those trucks, but I don't get them because it's a lot more uh, competition with those and a lot more alternative with those. So that's why I don't really have those and why I haven't really discussed those much really. But this is kind of a unique vehicle. Switching over to the minis and micros side of the hobby, this is the side of hobby that's like not as serious, that the industry doesn't take as seriously, and hobbyists don't take as seriously. So, your choice of vehicles are kind of limited, especially for if you want something that's not like an Amazon or Banggood special Chinese vehicle. If you want like an actual reputable brand, there's only a few vehicles and models available, and only a few companies that offer anything in this sort of smaller scale. So. Um, that's why I ended up with this Traxxas Summit, and also I've had the Summit before. This version is the rock and roll brushed version. Um, it came out 2018, and when it was announced, this is the to date the only RC truck that I've ever pre-ordered. Um, and just something I've been really excited for. I've always loved the Summit. I've always loved the look of the Summit. I've always loved the concept of the Summit. And when the 16 scale Summit came out like 10 years ago, I knew I had to have it, but I couldn't afford one back then. But this brushed version came in kind of more close to my price point, especially at that time. So that's why I ended up picking that one up. Um, that initial one had a couple issues. The moment I took it out of the box, I broke the servo stripped out. I didn't even crash it; it just rolled over in grass, and tweaked the wheel a little bit, and yeah, the servo stripped out. And just like my original one, this one also stripped out. So that servo you can see kind of in there. That is a Savox servo, Metal Gear servo. So that one should hold up a little bit better. I did have some issues with the servo, like straining with the linkage and stuff, so I had to do a little bit more adjustment. I've been tinkering to get that to actually function properly without straining the servo. Um, And then the LEDs went out on my old one, which that hasn't happened so far with this one. But granted, this one hasn't been crashed as bad as the previous one. So the LEDs are something I'm still looking looking at, just like keeping an eye on. If you haven't seen this model before, I will go over this vehicle in detail. In the full review I have for this, I filmed all the footage for it, so that should be coming out sometime here very soon. But some changes I've made to the truck so far is one, obviously I changed the servo, and two, you can kind of see here even with the lights off, I've tinted these two LED lights yellow, which I think makes the truck a little bit look a little bit better, gives it a little bit more character. Um, Makes it look a little bit more scale than rather than just having a bunch of white LEDs in the front of it. It just kind of adds some character to the front. So um, I I like the look of that. I just did that by taking the LEDs out and just coloring it in with just yellow Sharpie. Because if you don't know, Sharpies, the regular ones, not the metallic colored one. The metallic colored ones are paint markers. These regular colored Sharpies, they're actually translucent. So if you paint it, if you write on it on a clear surface, it'll just kind of become a tint like that, and it works pretty well. I'll try to plug it in real quick, see if it'll come up on camera. The LEDs are very, very bright, so it might not show up very well on camera, but we'll see. Also, you see it here, while the body is off, I've tucked the antenna inside the body like this because out of the box, this is a 2.4 gigahertz system, but it has like a long antenna that just sticks out from the top of it, which looks dumb, I think, and also shouldn't happen with the 2.4 gigahertz. So I put it under here, especially with this truck. It flips over a lot, so it rolls over onto this antenna quite often. So I decided to just tuck it in here, and the range is still is fine with this, like that. Another quick change I've made is, you can see right here, I've put the Traxxas Stinger motor on it. This is a 540 20 turn motor, so it is slower than stock. The stock motor is this one. It's the 12 turn Titan 12 turn 550 motor. And you can see it's slightly longer than this one, and obviously a lot more power. But I did the 20 turn one, so the center of gravity will be slightly lower because this motor is lighter than the 550. Also, having a lower turn motor increases your runtime a bit more. And honestly, with such a small truck, you don't really need all of this power. So we'll see how that 20 turn works out. Another reason I got the 20 turn is because I kind of want this thing to perform a bit more like the actual full-size 10 scale Summit, where you can do like some bashing with it while also being able to do some light crawling with it. So that's why I went with a slightly lower turn motor. I might go with a 27 turn later, depending on how my tuning and stuff works out. But speaking of that LED, I'll show you that real quick since I got it plugged in. I don't know if it'll show up on camera very well, but the LEDs are very, very bright. And yeah, it doesn't really show up very well on camera, but these center ones are yellow, whereas these are like a bluish white LED. And the LEDs are actually really bright and makes it really fun to drive even in the dark, especially here in the Midwest. In the winter time, it gets dark very quickly, so that kind of the LEDs definitely help me enjoy the truck a little bit longer outside. Unplug this again real quick. Some other tuning changes I plan on making to this truck right here is again, kind of trying to make it perform like an actual 10 scale Summit. The obvious issue with that is this thing is not as sophisticated as the 10 scale Summit, so it does not have the 2-speed transmission or the locking diffs. So it will be limited in that aspect. So that's why I want to go with um, a reasonably like a moderate motor, like a 20 turn or a 27 turn. Um, so it can do some of that like bashing kind of driving, but also not burn out immediately when you try to crawl with it. And then as for the diffs don't lock and they're open, and they're moderately loose. The tires and just the suspension travel and the articulation of this truck kind of helps keep all of the tires on the ground. So it does crawl decently for having fully open differentials, but I want to kind of help it out a bit. So I went and bought some silicone diff fluid. The cool thing about these Traxxas 1/16 vehicles is unlike a lot of mini vehicles, it has like an actual proper diff. So it has a sealed diff in it, so you can't put diff fluid in it. And so I bought some factory team 7,000 weight diff fluid. This is a little bit lighter than I was hoping to get. I was hoping to get at least 10,000, maybe 20, yeah, maybe 20,000. I've seen some people use like 100,000 weight, but that's for tent scale. So that might be too thick. I don't know. I haven't really messed with diff fluid before, so it should be interesting to kind of tune the diffs out. It's gonna be a lot of trial and error, but basically, I wanted to get to the point where if I'm trying to crawl with it, it's locked enough for me to like crawl over stuff. But when it's like making turns and stuff like that, the diff still has some functionality, so it's not a completely locked diff. Uh, I think that's gonna be a pretty cool project to do. Another alternative is just to get like a used Summit, like a second one, and set one up for crawling and the other one up for bashing. So that might be an option. But we'll see how my funds work out because I do have a lot of other vehicles that I am working on. But this has been the main one I've been driving recently just because it is the newest kid on the block and just kind of the most versatile truck I have at the moment. But some other future plans I want for this is I do want to get a clear body for it and change up the body. I don't hate the look of this paint scheme, this rock and roll paint scheme, but I like my trucks to look different from everyone else's, and this truck only comes in one color, so everybody who has a 16 scale Summit, everyone's truck looks the same. So I just kind of want to switch it up a little bit. So I don't know about what color I'm gonna paint it yet, but we'll see how that works out. But that was a long 13 minutes just talking about my little Summit. But here's the next car. We're just going slowly down in size. This is my 1/18 scale Axial Yeti Junior, but technically with this side by side body on it, it's a 10th scale. But nevertheless, this truck has been a lot of fun to drive. I'm also gonna do a full review on this one as well. I'm in the process of gathering all the footage for it, and yeah, I took this one to the track, and it was a lot of fun to just drive around. This thing jumps very, very well. It's suspension is set up very, very nice. It's very plush and set up very nice. It's not too stiff. It's not too loose. It's a very nicely tuned suspension. The only problem is the way the rear suspension set up. It doesn't really articulate very well. So it does like to pick up the rear tire a little bit, but on a loose surface, it's not a huge issue. But I haven't done much to this. I've driven it through water, and so I had to rebuild the diff and some like re-grease stuff and stuff like that. This bearing is slightly squeaky, so I'm gonna have to replace that bearing up here. I did paint up the beadlock rings. These aren't real rings. Oh, rings obviously, and like the little lug nuts in silver, just to kind of add to the look. I actually really like these wheels and these tires. The tires are very soft and they're foam filled, and just it's a really nice tire, honestly. I really want this tire for some of my other 18 scale cars. And yeah, this has been a really fun truck a car to drive around. Also the paint, I mentioned the Sharpie earlier. This is the Sharpie I painted it with. The metallic ones are paint markers, so can see there. One thing I want to change about this is I picked up this other Savox micro servo, the same one that I put in my Teton. Well, I'll show you in a second. And yeah, I picked up this not because I broke the servo like in my Teton, but just because the stock servo in this one is a little bit slow for what I want to do. The most of the driving I do with this is in a very enclosed and tight area, so I want a little bit more steering response from it. The stock steering servo is actually pretty decent. It's a metal gear servo, so it's pretty durable. It's just a little bit slow. So I might stick that in my Grande 2 or something if that when that servo burns out. But yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing with this. Not a lot of plans for this one. Maybe I'll pick up some of the aluminum parts for it. But I'm not. I try not to go to aluminum unless something breaks. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of body options for this, so I'm kind of stuck with the Can-Am body and the just the red color scheme. But it is still a really fun truck to drive, a car to drive around. So yeah, I do drive this one around quite a bit. I did also paint up the little Axial logo in the diff case back there. But yeah, moving on. Here we have my ECX 1/18 scale Ruckus 4x4. This has been an amazing truck to drive. There's also a full review I'm working on for this one, so look out for that. But this thing, from what I've read online, people said it was cheap. This thing was only $99.99, so it's only $100. So it's super cheap. It's basically as cheap as you're gonna get a proper hobby grade RC car for. At least a fully running one. And yeah, looking online, everyone said that it was garbage. Like the diff stripped out, everything is plastic, so it's garbage. But I think people were being a little bit dramatic, or maybe it was just an issue with the early release models. I got this like 4 years past its initial release date, so this mine may be a slightly improved version, but the only issues I've had with mine was the wheel nuts like to come loose after a battery pack or so. So you want to keep an eye on keeping those tightened. Otherwise, you will lose the little tiny pin that drives the hex. But I haven't done anything to this. This is completely stock because I've had a lot of fun driving it. I don't really feel the need to upgrade the electronics or anything. It's plenty fast, plenty peppy. I did add a heatsink in there because these 380 motors tend to get really hot, especially in 4-wheel drive vehicles. So I did put a heatsink on that. I also did put a heatsink on the Yeti Junior earlier. The only other issue I've had with this truck was the shock caps like to pop off a lot. So to remedy that, I picked up some of these Hot Racing aluminum shocks. So hopefully the shock caps won't fall off with these as much. And just the shock oil setup in this is just not very good. So it's a very fun truck to drive. It's a good basher, but for any sort of like performance or like any sort of precision driving, you're gonna get very frustrated with it. So hopefully these shocks will help out with that as well. They're really nice looking shocks. It doesn't really match the color scheme of the truck, but that's something I can work on later. So I'm excited to put these in. I just haven't put these in yet because I haven't gotten all the review footage for this thing. So I have to keep it stock until I get that footage. So now moving on to the next truck. I mentioned my Teton earlier. So here's my Teton. And I have very mixed feelings about this truck. So how it looks, I love the look of it. I love the blue graphics on it. Just the overall SUV body look is really cool. The tires are really cool. And yeah, just a really cool looking truck. I really like this truck. It also performs very well. It's based on a very low center of gravity chassis, so it performs excellent. It's the best driving 18th scale that I have or have ever seen, honestly. The shocks are also set up very nicely out of the box. It's very nicely damped. It's a very nice truck to drive and just to look at. Unfortunately, um, even though this is a Traxxas product, I have had quite a number of issues with it. Um, as you can see, the motor is not installed in this because I burnt the motor out. This motor is a 370 size motor. It's not a 380 size like a lot of 18 skills use. So here we have a 380 size motor, and here's the Trax motor. It's significantly smaller. These 380 motors themselves already get really hot running in these 18 scale 4x4 vehicles. So it's not a surprise, especially with the monster truck tires, that these tiny motors burn out. Unfortunately, it's not easy to find 380 motor replacements. I have seen some people do some brushless upgrades and stuff like that, but um, I'm not quite sure if I want to go brushless because I'm not looking for more speed or anything. Maybe if I find a pretty low end brushless system, that might be okay. The 380 motors will fit, but you do have to do some modification to it. Oops. You have to do some modification to the mounting plate and stuff like that. So it's not a direct fit. But if you are motivated enough, you can get it to fit. You just need some tools to do some machining to both the motor and the motor mounting plate. So the motor has been something that's pretty disappointing. So, but the motor's like $10. You can replace it and you get it going again. So that's not a huge deal. But what is a little bit more disappointing is not only did the motor go out, but the diffs went out on mine. It has the metal diffs, but both front and rear diffs went out. So I had to rebuild those. The servo stripped out my first couple runs, so I had to replace that with a Metal Gear Savox one, and the front arm shattered on mine, completely shattered. So I had to replace the arms, and I didn't want the other arms to shatter, so all the arms are replaced with RPM arms. So a lot of money and time spent on this thing, and not as much driving as I would like to on it, honestly. Like I did drive it quite a bit before it completely broke down, but yeah, I'm kind of disappointed with this thing as far as its reliability goes. Because other than that, it's a really fun truck to drive. It's a really great truck to drive. It's just a shame that it's been not kind of like a money pit. The truck it cost me about $140 brand new at my local hobby shop, and immediately I had to get a new servo and new arms, which were the arms are $10 a pair, and I got a set, so that's $20. So that's $150 right there. And then the servo stripped out very soon after that, so I had to get a new servo, which was like $25. So that's like what, $175. And then the motor blew out, so I had to get a new motor. And that's $10, so that's $185. And then both the diffs went out, and the diffs are $10 each. So this truck basically cost me a bit over $200, and it's not working at the moment. So for $200, you can easily get a lot nicer vehicles. $200, you can definitely get one of the Traxxas 1/16 scale vehicles. So if you're looking for one of these like mini sized vehicles and you want a Traxxas, I would honestly go with the Traxxas 1/16 line, the Slash, the E-Revo, the Summit, over this, because those are a lot more durable. So you won't be breaking as many parts with those. As long as you get the brushed ones and you don't drive them super crazy. These are still really good trucks to drive. I have to try out the short course version, see if the smaller wheels help the reliability any. I also have the Rally here, the on-road version, but that's not really comparable because it's a much cheaper version with bushings and 5-cell battery instead of 6-cell. Also, it's an on-road vehicle, so it's not really going to be seeing the amount of damage the monster truck version gets. So, um, unless you're trying to find like a like something to that drives a little bit more uh, accurately and more a little more stable, I would honestly just go with the 16 scale line. It's just better in my opinion. You spend a little bit more money up front, but they are a little bit more reliable than the Teton is. So um, that's where I stand with the Latrax Teton right now. I am going to do a review for this, but we'll see if I have the motivation to finish it. I do want to try the short course truck version. Maybe I'll do like a Latrax line review. It's an individual truck review, but we'll see. I do plan on getting this one fixed up though and trying to get it driving. I did spend all that money on it, so might as well get it working. But yeah, I have a few more trucks that I've been working on, but this video is getting really long. It's almost 30 minutes already. So I'll kind of just cut it off there. I doubt anyone's watched this far anyway. If you have, uh, tell me in the comments if you did. And I thank you very much for listening to my ramblings about my RC cars. I do enjoy this hobby quite a bit, and um, yeah, it especially helps me pass the time in all this quarantine and not being able to see friends and stuff like that. A lot of my friends are also graduating college and spreading like sand in the wind just all across the country. So I'm not able to see my friends as much. So these things definitely help me pass the time a bit more, and they're really enjoyable. And I hope you guys enjoyed this hobby as well and enjoyed watching this video. And if you guys enjoyed watching this video or want to see any more videos of any of the trucks I've shown you so far in this video, um, yeah, give me a like, comment down below, subscribe, all that good YouTube shenanigans, and I will see you guys next time.